is on your heart, your soul, and your mind on this day?
Well, I'm just blessed to still be in the land of the breathing. I must say that the great Benjamin Elijah Mays once told me, he said, you know, Brother West, he said, the very fact that black people are here is a great spiritual achievement. Because when you think of all of the terror and hatred, all of the trauma, all of the sorrow that we've had to come to terms with, and we still swinging. And I say to myself, to live in a country, to live in this empire as it continues to decline and decay, where it becomes fashionable, really, to view empathy as an enemy, and fashionable to use cruelty as a strategy, and fashionable to view truth somehow as not even an afterthought, but not even a thought, not even a concern about truth at all. It's like choosing between which lie rather than really being concerned about the truth. And black folk, we've had to wrestle with that for 400 years, but to be able to have to now deal with this in such a raw form in 2025 just makes me think again of how blessed we are to be able to have friends and family and partners and comrades to help us keep our smiles and our joy in face of this overwhelming, what I've called the gangsterization of the country and the world, led by the Trump administration, but manifest in so many different ways. Capitulation of Wall Street to Trump, capitulation of the universities to Trump, the capitulation of even too many working class peoples and everyday peoples to a fear. And when you capitulate to fear, it means you will be manipulated. I don't care what color, I don't care what gender, sexual orientation, or religious identity you have. If you're driven by fear, you will be manipulated. If you're driven by love, you will bear witness. And if you're driven simply by interest, then you proceed by means of calculation rather than prophetic witness, which is the truth telling, the truth seeking, and the justice seeking, and the love enacting. And so, again, we come back to a certain spiritual and moral dimension of our day. And this is distinctive of Truth Time on Brother Tavis's show. Why?
That's it.
Don't get too much of it on so many other channels.
No, you do not. In fact, I love how you said if you're driven by fear, that's one thing. But if you're driven by love, that's a whole nother. Yeah, drop that gem one more time, Doc. That was so good.
No, if you're driven by fear, you will be manipulated.
You will be manipulated. Yeah.
Strategy is trying to induce and internalize fear in people to keep manipulating them, to keep subjugating them, and then to mislead them too. But love breaks the back of fear. Well, somewhere I read, that's what my Bible tells me, and it's been true in my own life. All of us wrestle with fear. But what breaks the back of fear is something greater and grander than fear, which is the love that's shot through us that allows us to stand up and do things we could not conceive that we'd ever do.
That's it. And not only does the Christian Bible mention that, but Big Mama and Big Papa said it too.
But I think they probably got it from the Bible. I mean, most of them heard the choir singing and their preacher preaching and the usher talking about perfect fear cast us out. Perfect love cast us out. All fear. Breaks the back. Oh, yes, indeed.
Yeah, that's it. Perfect love cast out all fear when we come forward. Dr. West and I will continue this conversation. You're listening to Truth Time.
Speaking truth to power and to the powerless. This is Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner. Before the fire, Altadena was a real life Wakanda. A thriving Black oasis just 15 miles from downtown Los Angeles. 80% Black residents were homeowners, building intergenerational wealth against the odds. It was a hub of Black-owned businesses, churches, and cultural institutions. It stood as a symbol of Black resilience and economic independence. Then, in a matter of hours, it was gone. The fire tore through homes, swallowed businesses, and left behind a painful void. But was it just an unstoppable act of nature, or was negligence involved? Did officials ignore early warning signs? Were the response efforts delayed or insufficient? What role, if any, did corporate or government failures play? Survivors are demanding answers. Don't miss our KBLA Talk 1580 Town Hall. The Eaton Altadena Fire, 100 days and counting, on Wednesday, April 16th, 4 to 6 p.m. at the Robinson Park Recreation Center, 1081 North Fair Oaks in Pasadena. Join Dominic DePrima, Nee Cordelai Corte, James Farr, Tavis Smiley, and a panel of survivors, community leaders, and experts as we commemorate day 100 since the wildfires flared up, and we discuss where we go from here. It's KBLA's Eaton Altadena Fire, 100 days and counting Town Hall, Wednesday, April 16th, 4 to 6 p.m. at the Robinson Park Recreation Center in Pasadena. Light refreshments to follow. Admission is free, but sign up is required at our KBLA1580.com website. The first 100 attendees will receive a complimentary air purifier. This is a community call to action brought to you by KBLA Talk 1580 and Quinn Emanuel Trial Lawyers. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm. If you own a timeshare, don't miss this public service announcement from Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group.
If you receive an unsolicited phone call or mail piece to discuss selling, renting, or especially canceling your timeshare, don't fall for it. If you really want out of your timeshare, hang the phone up immediately or throw that mail piece in the trash and contact your timeshare resort or Wesley Financial Group for assistance with your timeshare. As the only Inc. 500 timeshare cancellation company, our knowledge, experience, and results has made Wesley a trusted resource for over 40,000 families we've helped get out of their timeshare. Give us a call and I'll send you our timeshare exit information kit free with the straight facts about your timeshare and all of your options for cancellation.
Call for your free info kit, 800-511-2112. That's 800-511-2112. 800-511-2112.
To thine own self be true. More of Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner coming your way right now on KBLA Talk 1580.
Oh, Doc, I mean, so we're so glad that all of you have come forward with us. If you're just not joining us, welcome to the show. If you've missed any of the Truth Time since January the 6th, wherever you get your podcast, y'all need to go back and listen and download the KBLA Talk 1580 app if you have not done that. So, Doc, the manipulation through fear. One of the ways that we are being manipulated in this country, which is through this whole retaliatory tariff battle that's going on that President Donald J. Trump manufactured. He created this for his own ends. And he is taking a cavalier attitude towards the impact that this will have on the everyday people of the United States of America. He's going to be all right. The ultra wealthy or the ruling class is going to be all right. But the people that we love and care for and the issues by which we stand up and fight, those types of people are not going to be okay. And so in comes Governor Newsom, the governor of the great state of California. California has one of the largest economies in the world as a state. So he's saying he is going to block and tackle for the state of California, lobby for his own deals with these various countries, which he can do because of the size of California. Thoughts on that? So while I get his instinct to protect the residents of California, that does not necessarily help people living in other states. And it's not the way we would want it done, even though I'm not criticizing him for it. He's using a type of power that he has in his hands. But we are in trouble if people are going to have to go state by state to try to protect residents of each state instead of being collectively the United States.
No, I hear, but I think Trump is thoroughly just in over his head. And what I mean by that he exemplified socialized stupidity. All of us are ignorant. No matter how learned you are, you just have learned ignorance. All of us don't know certain truths. Stupidity is you have no interest in learning the truth. So once that becomes socialized, then it means that you think you can live your life and proceed based on lies. Now, the terrorists that Trump is promoting, everybody knows it's going to have devastating effects, not just on the economy, but on poor and working people. And it's going to have devastating effects on what the rich are concerned about, the billionaires concerned about, which is the stock market and their big money. So they're the ones putting the strongest pressure right now. Even Musk is saying, I'm not with you on this, Trump, because I'm concerned about my profits vis-a-vis my cars. And because this is how capitalism proceeds. It's so integrated, it's so interdependent, it's so interrelated. So that when brother Newsom comes along and says, well, I'm going to insulate California. You can't insulate California. Just like America can't insulate itself from the international division of labor of the global economy. The interrelationships cut so deep that either you allow for a fundamental focus on poor and working people given the international economy, or the other option is for the rich. And so I think Newsom and Trump thinking that somehow they can insulate America or California. It's like saying you can insulate Los Angeles. You can't insulate Los Angeles from the state economy and the national economy and the global economy. The question is, how do you push that global economy toward those Frantz Fanon called the wretched of the earth, the poor?
Yeah.
The only way you do that is strong trade unions, workers' voices, strong social programs that make sure you don't have children who are poor and homeless brothers and sisters or unhoused brothers and sisters who have no access to either job or housing, let alone health care. That's the fundamental issue. So there, in the sense in which the debate between Newsom and Trump is to me a false one, even though I can understand, like you, I can understand the intentions of Brother Newsom. But I think that that they're both really just dog paddling on the surface. Well, we need some deep sea diving.
Ooh, don't we, Doc? But yeah, I mean, I get it. He's trying to answer and counter. You know, in some ways, what he's doing is bigger than California, even though he only has jurisdiction over California. I'm trying to give him, you know, not the benefit of the doubt, but I'm trying to expand where I think he's trying to go. And then there's a hunger in this nation, as you know, I know, the people we come in contact with, for a type of resistance or fight back against the neo-fascism, against the Trump administration, against the GOP and what they're trying to do. And Governor Newsom does have executive power, so he can stand this up and say these things. It's about California, but in my mind, Doc, is bigger than California, even though you're absolutely right. We need some deep sea diving, but much like it's kind of, look at me, I'm doing something, even though that something could have and should have been done in 2023. It would have been nice to see Governor Newsom support a full-fledged Democratic primary. But I'm gonna put that in the parking lot.
No, I hear you, my dear.
I just slid that on in there, Doc.
I love it. No, you're absolutely right. But I think in so many ways too, you're just so much kinder than I am. I mean,
we complement each other,
and it's a beautiful complementarity there, because there's always, truth is always bigger than all of us, and justice is bigger than all of us. So that we both need voices that are complement. We overlap in very deep and profound ways. We got the same moral and spiritual compass when it comes to focusing on the least of these. And yet at the same time, it's also true that so a number of these elected officials, they move in a direction where it looks like they really want to do the right thing, and yet you wonder, you know, what are they able to execute? Or is it just a symbolic gesture for the next presidential cycle so that they become more visible? You say, no, it can't just be fundamentally about that. If you haven't consistently been with poor and working people and spoke out when it was when you're against the grain, then you wonder whether they have what it really takes.
And that's a question we should all be asking ourselves. And I just want to lean into the symbolic gesture of it all. Because while this could be something that this governor truly believes is the way to go in this moment to push back, the broader question becomes, are the types of questions and conversations we continue to have, the kind of dialogue and debate we lift on this show, which is the global aspect. And global for this moment can mean the United States of America. It was also in the best interest of this country and the people in this country to have a robust debate about 2024 before people started voting, that leaders like Governor Newsom, and he's not by himself, were unwilling to have for the sake of what you just pointed out, Doc, which is the next presidential election. They didn't want to step on no toes because they were saying to themselves, I got next. Next for them was 2028. Had they been thinking about the larger, all of us and everyday people, and really critiquing and judging what was happening in real time in 22 and 23, that care and concern for the more global community of the United States of America would have prompted some of these governors and some of these Congress people and some of these other folks within the Democratic bubble in particular to say, no, we ought to have a primary. But it didn't, because they were thinking about the next presidential election. So they didn't want to run afoul of the Democratic Party apparatus, not giving a care about the faithful of the party itself, like the everyday people in this country who would vote Democrat. Because if they cared about that, then they would have been moved to say, we need a primary. Don't sue Dr. Cornel West for trying to get on the ballot. Don't mess with RFK Jr., even though you might not like the fact that he's an anti-vaxxer. Don't do that. Don't mess with Dr. Jill Stein. Don't mess with Congressman Dean Phillips. Don't mess with none of that. And then allow a process to take place that just maybe, we wouldn't be where we are today in terms of Trump 2.0. But they didn't say any of that, Doc, because going back to your premise, they were looking out for 2028, but just for themselves.
No, I think you're right about that. And then one could argue, well, that's part of the very nature of the political system, that elected officials are much more concerned about themselves staying in rather than pursuing the best policies for poor and working people. But I think it has something to do, a point that you make, with great power, and that is how there's fear and sometimes downright cowardliness among the elected officials when it comes to their relation to big money.
That's it. And the party apparatus itself. One of the things that I like that Governor Walz is doing, when you're the vice presidential candidate, you own a ticket. And so you rolling with the top of the ticket. But now, he could have blew it up then. Don't get me wrong. So I ain't gonna let him off the hook. But when you're a part of a ticket, he wasn't the top of the ticket. You're rolling. But now he is having the intestinal fortitude to say, we messed up. He didn't just say they. He said, we messed up, even so much as critiquing the vice president when she just recently gave a speech and basically said, I told you so, in a way that's hurtful, because there are millions of people that's going to hurt behind this. And he's saying, first of all, you being too cavalier about that. And number two, we messed up. So how dare any of us say, I told you so?
Ooh, yes. Yeah, I hadn't out the sister Kamala, though, but she gave a talk and said
Doc, and just saying, hey, y'all should have voted for me. I told you so, and laughed it off. This ain't no laughing matter. If you really wanted to be able to say, I told you so, you would have tried to talk Biden out of even trying to run again. You would have been, again, for a robust 2023 primary that had Biden stepped out, she could have legitimately ran in a longer race. But now in the face of people suffering to say, I told you so. And Governor Walz has had the courage to say, you're wrong. and I don't agree with it. And we are part of the reason why we are in this situation. I got to give it to them.
No, that's true. That's true. No, so you always instruct, educate, and shape how I see the world in a wonderful way. And I deeply appreciate that. And that's true for so many of those who listen to you and listen to me every day on the radio as well as on the internet. Very much.
Yeah, listening to us. So it does take a level of courage to come out and say, because they vilify you if you critique the machine. But Governor Walz is just saying, hey, love me or hate me, I'm about to tell the truth. We messed up. And he doesn't divorce himself from the mess up, even though he wasn't at the top of the ticket. And I do agree with him that those same people who got us into this are not the ones to go out and say, I told you so. Because there are a lot of people like you, me, and others who told them so. What was going to happen if they used the same stale playbook, and they did it anyway.
But I wish they say something about that precious Palestinian 14-year-old who's an American who was shot down by the IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces, and show some courage in that regard. Because, and maybe they have said something that I missed, but my hunch is they haven't said a mumbling word on something like that. You know what I mean?
Maybe they have, Doc. Maybe I missed it too. So at least we're giving ourselves some runway that if they have said something, because we don't know all that people say and do. And my hunch is like yours, because it is the same party that would not allow a Palestinian family to take the stage, at the DNC. So I don't know how many more lives have to be lost before some of these people say something and do something.
That's very, very true. But they wouldn't allow William Barber to speak. I mean, if anybody has a moral authority to talk about poverty,
yes,
colors of all regions of the country, and the fact that he didn't speak either just spoke volumes in terms of the corporate domination of the party. And the Democratic Party tied to corporate America is just sliding down a slippery slope right now, because it's clear that people are upset, not just with Trump's gangsterism, not just with the debate about tariffs, but they're deeply upset with the professional managerial class in general and politicians in particular of both parties.
And I think they've been upset for a long time, but it's just manifesting itself out in the open. Like these things, like a sore that's festering. And before the sore is apparent visually, it was already manifesting itself under the surface. And then it bubbles up to the surface and you're like, oh, I got a sore. To me, that's what's happening right now.
Right at a time when everything else seems to be collapsing.
Yeah, I mean, that is the state of this country. That is, in fact, the state of the world. And you have mad men and women, literally, but more men are running countries than women. This is not a gender thing. I in no way believe that women are somehow, even though I often say if God made anything better than a woman, he must have kept it to himself. But I'm put that in the parking lot. There are women.
I can understand that now. Oh, absolutely.
But not all women fit in that category, Doc. I ain't one of those.
No, I hear you.
To understand the spiritual connection to power that is missing in this country, has been missing for a long time, and also missing in the world. There should be a spiritual love connection to power. That's what we're talking about on Truth Time. When we come forward, Dr. West and I will continue our analysis. You're listening to Truth Time.
The truth will set you free, but first it might raise your blood pressure.
So I'm not driving anywhere.
More of Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner when we come forward.
I'm Amber Payton with 4 Things You Should Know with BIN News. New York City is suing the Trump administration to keep $188 million in migrant shelter funds after FEMA moved to pull the grants. Black Mayor Eric Adams blames the Biden administration, but the White House says it's part of Trump-era immigration enforcement. Maryland's Black Attorney General Anthony Brown has reached a settlement with American Management over rental policies that barred people with felonies. The company will revise its screening and end blanket bans. The Department of Education is extending the deadline to April 24th for K-12 schools to certify they've cut DEI programs or risk losing federal funding. But what counts as DEI violation remains unclear, raising concerns around programs like Black History courses. And Maryland's first Black governor, Wes Moore, says he is not running for president in 2028. In a new interview, the Democrat confirmed he's focused on re-election in 2026 and highlighting what Maryland has accomplished. Get BIN News on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Right now, there are young people across the world facing a tough choice: continue their dream of education or drop out to help their family put food on the table. You can help change their future in a single moment. See how far your support can go at unbound.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson. We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, a.k.a. the Voice of Reason, encouraging you to join me weekdays from 7 to 9 p.m. for the world's most intriguing relationship radio roundtable. Every night, I facilitate and encourage our loyal listeners to participate in the most engaging relationship discussions you'll hear anywhere. So make it a point to rendezvous with me, Zoe Williams, the Voice of Reason, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Trust me, your relationships will never be the same. The VOR is on fire tonight.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
This is the story of the one who, as a maintenance specialist for a historic high-rise, knows that vintage charm historically needs constant attention, which is why when it's time to upgrade turn-of-the-century mechanicals, they turn to Grainger. With easy access to 1 million+ products and the scale to deliver when and where you need them, the right tools and supplies are never far away. So the one can keep that vintage building running like new. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Still getting around to that fix on your car? You got this. On eBay, you'll find millions of parts guaranteed to fit. Doesn't matter if it's a major engine repair or your first time swapping your windshield wipers. eBay has that part you need, ready to click perfectly into place for changes big and small. Loud or quiet, find all the parts you need at prices you'll love, guaranteed to fit every time. But you already know that. eBay, things, people, love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Hey, this is Zoe Williams, the Voice of Reason, and for over 20 years, Parkside Economic Development Corporation has served Leimert Park and surrounding communities, empowering tomorrow's leaders and changing lives. Parkside EDC has awarded over $400,000 in college scholarships while sharing economic principles of the Big Five of money with students and their families. Parkside EDC partners with organizations like the Brotherhood Crusade to assure our youth have the financial acumen to succeed. Parkside EDC provides families and businesses with financial insights, offering free online, on-site, and on-air B-Warp presentations. The Black Wealth Attainment and Retention Programs helps our community acquire, sustain, and pass down legacy wealth. High school seniors can apply for this year's scholarship awards at parksideedc.org. Scholarships will be awarded at Parkside EDC's Gospel/Jazz Brunch on Sunday, April the 27th. For details, tickets, or donations, please visit parksideedc.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
At Exquisite Family Mortuary, we know how overwhelming it can be planning a meaningful farewell for your loved one. Secure your peace of mind by calling Charlotte White at 323-577-5562. That's Charlotte White at 323-577-5562. From traditional funeral services to memorials to direct cremation, pre-needs, and more. Call Charlotte White at Exquisite Family Mortuary for Southern hospitality in Southern California. That's Charlotte White at 323-577-5562. Exquisite Family Mortuary. is located nearby in Inglewood, California. Exquisite Family Mortuary, where your loved one becomes our loved one. This is where love and truth meet.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
You're listening to Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner.
For real, love and truth right here on Truth Time. Doc, I love when you said truth is always bigger than all of us. And that's what we need people to wrap themselves around, all of this. If you're just joining us, welcome. If you come forward with us, thank you so much. And speaking of coming forward, Doc, I'm going straight to our live chat on YouTube where it is jumping in there per usual. We got Blessed Peacemaker. Greetings, Senator Turner and Dr. West. This is the all capital time for truth. Amen to that. Mr. Morris Phillips is in the house. Good afternoon, Dr. West and Senator Turner. May God shine his face upon you. And then Morris Phillips has a question for us, Doc. This is deep. Dr. West, does capitalism allow for a moral consciousness?
Oh, I think any context allows for a moral consciousness, because when you tie to a moral conscience, you could be in the cell dealing with fascism, you can be on the plantation dealing with slavery, you can be dealing with capitalist exploitation at the workplace. You can still choose to be a moral human being. And I learned that not just from Shiloh Baptist Church and Irene B. West. I see it at work in the most profound human being I know breathing right now, who's my blood brother, Clifton Lincoln West III. Moral conscience enacted in every context, every condition. But you need courage. You need consistency, and all of us fall short, but be bounced back. That's what is required. And part of the problem is, you see, when you have fear as the dominant element, it doesn't allow any space for humility. So you know truth is bigger than all of us. And it's the humility tied to the compassion and the courage that allows you to have the kind of conscience that's required. That's Martin King, that's Fannie Lou Hamer, that's Harriet Tubman. If they can manage moral consciousness and conscience, my God, you know we can. No doubt about it. We appreciate that. But capitalism still needs to be transformed. Don't get me wrong. The moral conscience is tied to a moral action that's in solidarity with the least of these, which includes workers. And capitalism too often believes, in fact, that you put short-term profit over long-term well-being of everyday people.
Yeah, and it reminds me of something that we brought up yesterday, that we brought forward yesterday, which is when you said they, being the power brokers, the ruling class, they treat the market as if it is a human being. They humanize the market over humanizing the everyday people of this country.
If they treated poor people with the gentleness and sensitivity that they treat the stock market, it wouldn't be no poor people in the society. Kind of how your society is with warped priorities.
That part, Doc. That's it. That's it. How do we get people to understand that? And then Morris Phillips, Senator Turner, you've been given the task of leading the Occupy White House campaign this summer. Many are called, but few are chosen. Congratulations. All right, Morris Phillips. I think he knows something I don't know, Doc. But that is it.
Lord, did you know you have been designated?
No.
Called by God to be a great force for good as a leader. Now we know that, but
that part we know. But the specific assignment, I got to get brother Morris Phillips gonna have to give me some more details on that. And he went on to say, I meant to say, may God shine his face upon you, Dr. West and Senator Turner. And we appreciate that. And may God shine his light upon you as well. We got B. Bell of Bad Dog Bullies in the house. Instead of giving folks a lifeline, they want to keep us all on a leash.
Ooh, that's a fresh word right there.
It is. And it's, yeah, I mean, true that. Because if they wanted to give lifelines, we would have universal health care by way of example. I mean, that's one of the best and deepest examples that I can give. We would not be paying more money for the same pharmaceutical drugs or prescriptions than other industrialized nations. I mean, people literally are putting their insulin on credit cards, Doc. Some people are rationing their insulin. And we're talking about medicine that people need to live. This ain't cosmetic here. This is real life. So what B-Bell of Bad Dog Bullies is saying is absolutely true. The system itself is designed in a way to keep us all on the leash. So I'm using Medicare for All as an example. We can think of other examples where that is the truth.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, that's just a beautiful way of characterizing that reality. We've got such wise listeners, don't we? We really
do. They are so good. They're so good. So Blessed Peacemaker has several questions. What future do you see for the parties? GOP, Dem, all question marks behind these, the Greens, Justice for All, etc. Dr. West party, Blessed Peacemaker, and gave your own party, Doc. Seems like a great time for the left to unify and beat the two-party system. And that's to you, Doc.
Oh, man, I agree that, but we started talking about a movement, and you can't talk about a movement unless you talk about motion and momentum. We've seen magnificent motion this weekend with the demonstrations. Reminded me of George Floyd Jr. demonstration. That's motion. That's not a movement, though. A movement, institutional network and infrastructure that's in place that can sustain people who are demonstrating week after week, month after month, year after year. And with no that, and we do need that, and we need movements in some ways, even more than parties, because the parties themselves are going to be relatively weak without strong movement being in place. If you have a party before a movement, it's going to be very small and very weak. If you have a movement from which parties flow, then you got something going on. You got something deeper going. So I've always been much more of a movement person than a party person. I like to party on Friday, Saturday night. Let's just make that clear. We're talking about political parties right now.
Not the kind with Coltrane playing in the background.
And Andre 3000 talking about party. I'm going to be there.
I love it, Doc. We got to bring some joy to this. You know, Blessed Peacemaker is really getting at a point that, you know, for us to talk about, given what happened at the hands off and millions of people in all 50 states coming out and being loud and proud. You know, how do we capture the moment to build a movement that is far beyond the rhetoric of this moment? And I'm not using rhetoric in any kind of judgmental way, because words do make worlds. In other words, we think it, we speak it, and then we start to create it. How then do we begin to move beyond that? That is a serious question.
That's deep. But I love how you say that. Words do make worlds.
Yeah. Remember, Doc, when I was growing up, and I'm probably dating myself, and that's okay. I'm fabulous at any age. But sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. And nothing has been further from the truth. Words do hurt. Trump spoke the word, you know, we're going to tear us before. Spoke the word, we're going to do away with DEI before it manifests in real time. You know, all that, we can name anything. It doesn't even have to be about him, but words do make worlds.
I love that. Well, I'm a living example of the fact that words empower, enrich, enable one's life. The right kind of words can change your life.
Come on.
Oh, yes, indeed. Now, words in the end will fail and slide and slip, because the words are just pointing to the realities, which are forces, which are deeper than the words. But at least the words are allowing us to look in a direction. So when those forces, when those spirits, when those unbelievable, intangible things like love, words always fail in the face of love. Words always fell in the face of truth. They fell in the face of beauty, but they pointing in that direction.
Woo, pointing in that direction. All right, when we come forward, we're going to keep pointing in the right direction. You are listening to Truth Time.
It's Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner on KBLA Talk 1580. 1580.
I feel so alone. I'm embarrassed to talk about it.
How can I help my kid if I can't help myself?
I can't remember when I wasn't stressed.
I don't like being inside.
When you feel overwhelmed by your thoughts and emotions, it's okay to get help. You are not alone. CalHope is here for you with free, safe, and confidential mental health resources for youth, young adults, families, and you. Find support now at calhope.org.
Hi, I'm Dominique DePrima, and it's almost time to celebrate KBLA's 4th anniversary, coming up Juneteenth 2025. We'll be marking the achievement with 4 key community events, including a special symposium, luncheon, and brain trust hosted by me entitled The State of Black Women in Los Angeles. Keep it locked here for details on how to join us for this groundbreaking symposium examining the unique challenges, triumphs, and contributions of Black women in Los Angeles in the areas of education, healthcare, community leadership, cultural and political contributions. This public convocation will provide a critical forum to address the specific social, economic, and political realities facing Black women in LA today. We'll go live with a radio broadcast and YouTube live stream, a public discussion, and a private dialogue with some of LA's most impactful women. It's an affirmation of Black women standing at the intersection of race and gender in times of adversity while demonstrating remarkable resilience and leadership. We will listen and we will speak out and be heard, all in service of finding opportunities and solutions. Please plan to join us in celebrating our 4th anniversary by amplifying the voices of Black women. For more on our symposium and 4 events celebrating 4 years on the air, simply stay tuned or keep an eye on KBLA1580.com and help make this Juneteenth more jubilant with all of us at KBLA Talk 1580.
After producing an award-winning climate justice campaign in 2024, KBLA Talk 1580 has gone all in on its 2025 Climate Justice plus Black Health Initiative. April is Minority Health Month, and Urban Family Focus in partnership with Providence Health Systems presents The Heart of the Matter. Providence doctors and health equity officers will participate in informative and life-changing conversations on hypertension, health equity, behavioral health, and community engagement. Don't miss these empowering conversations on Urban Family Focus every Saturday in April at 7 and Sunday at 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Sponsored by Providence, Southern California's largest and most comprehensive healthcare network. We've got a lot to talk about on KBLA Talk 1580. Download the KBLA 1580 app or log in to KBLA1580.com. I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. On KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your Black.
Truth crushed to earth shall rise again. You're listening to Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner, only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Yes, you are. We are certainly moving in the right direction. Like, I'm going back into the live chat. I mean, they are really kicking knowledge today. Brother Morris Phillips lays out, hey, if you give them someone to hate, they'll empty their pockets for you. Lyndon Baines Johnson says something similar to that in quoting him. And basically human nature, when people are suffering, they want somebody to blame it on. And Lyndon Baines Johnson was just pointing out, you give them somebody to hate, that's what they're going to do. And that is, even as he was a walking contradiction like we all are, but there was some truth coming from him in that. And the fact that our government doesn't care, they don't work for the quality of life for the majority of the people in this country, it seems, and they're working for the 1%. In other countries, for example, Morris says there is no student debt. And that's true. No student debt, no medical debt. But here we are, one of the most powerful countries on the face of the earth. And we have student debt and we have medical debt.
That's real. But, you know, the problem with hate in all of its forms, though, is that it's not a means to which you reach truth.
Yeah.
It's not and hate itself cannot translate into justice. That's why this notion of hate itself being recycled over and over and over again reproduces a blindness. It reproduces the eye for eye, which is blindness, the tooth for tooth, which is toothless. And you end up with simply more hate. And this is something I think Martin King was wrestling with. And so the question is, how do you get the truth? And this is just a question of just following Jesus too, though. See, when Jesus went into the temple and ran out the money changers, there was not a moment of hatred in his actions. It was grounded on love of poor people, and people's greed was getting in the way, but the motivation was love. You see? Deep love. Well, it was a hatred of greed. Well, that's like hating the devil. Well, okay, then that's different. But when you start hating any persons or any group, no matter how virtuous you think you are being pushed into the same gutter as the gangsters who have been masters of hatred.
That's it, Doc. That's it. And that's it. One more from EA. This is for you, Doc. Dr. West. Do you think African Americans today could have a Gary convention and support it, or are we too ideologically scattered?
Ooh, it's a powerful question. He's talking about 1972, the Gary Convention that brought together Black spokesmen, Black everyday people, working people, poor people, politicians, doctors, lawyers, sanitation workers, all came together because we had a variety of ideologies. Whether that's possible now, 53 years later, it's hard to say, but it would be a beautiful thing to see. I know I would be there. Anytime I can service to Black people, I'm going to be there.
Yeah, I would be there too, Doc. That is a great, great question. I think we were just as ideologically different then as we are now. You know, I mean, we've always had different. I mean, Du Bois and Booker T. Washington, they had different ways fighting for the same cause. You know, Dr. King, I mean, et cetera. So I don't think we're any more or less ideologically different. I just think that with the advent of social media, the world is smaller and we get to know what each other is thinking a lot sooner and quicker than we did a generation or two or three ago. You listening to Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner. When we come forward, we'll continue to talk about how we movement build.
A safe place to go loud. A great place for progressive politics. KBLA Talk 1580.
Lena Bloom for the Bail Project.
Imagine you're stuck in a jail cell and you can't afford bail and someone offers you a way out. Just plead guilty and you can go home and kiss your kids goodnight. What do? What thousands have. You plead guilty whether you are or not. Cash bail makes poverty a crime. That's why the Bail Project helps those who can't afford it while fighting to end cash bail. Because freedom should be free.
Brought to you by the Ad Council.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. If you need help getting your resume in order, finding job training, or landing a job, we've got 3 great options for you. First, the City of Los Angeles has WorkSource centers across the area offering free job support. The California Workforce Development Board can help you with everything from GED prep to vocational training at no cost to you. On the federal level, the Department of Labor's American Job Centers offer a full range of services for job seekers and businesses alike. Visit careeronestop.org, or for more info, just call California's Help Center or visit cwdb.ca.gov or call 916-657-1440. For the City of Los Angeles programs, go to ewdd.lacity.gov or call 213-744-7300. All these services are free to help you get your next job. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Time time is up. The IRS is in full collection mode for 2024, issuing liens, levies, and garnishments to anyone who has a past tax debt or unfiled tax returns. Don't wait till it's too late. Your paycheck and bank accounts are at risk of being seized. Call now and stop the collection process today. If you're living check to check, no matter how much you're making, you still may qualify for the Fresh Start programs offered by the IRS to reduce or even eliminate your tax debt. It's just a 5-minute call to get your options, and it's free. If you owe back taxes, have years of unfiled tax returns, under audit, have a wage or bank levy, or finally just want to sleep better, business or personal, call the experts at Republic Tax Relief while there's still time. A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, and tough. This veteran-owned company has the fight you need to take on the IRS. Don't go at it alone. The call is free. Call their hotline number now, 800-652-1714. That's 800-652-1714. Find out if you qualify today. Call 800-652-1714 or go to republictaxrelief.com.
This is where love and truth meet.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
You're listening to Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner.
Indeed, you are. And yes, we are. Like in terms of movement building, and that is on the hearts and minds of a whole lot of people, you know, even as people get out there and they display their displeasure as Hands Off did. A lot of people, I mean, I've been getting the question, I'm sure people ask you this question too. Where do we go from here? How do we sustain it? How do we keep it going so that it becomes something much bigger than just a one-day assignment? It morphs into making demands, making sure that we participate in the electoral process to get people elected to office who will answer to those demands. That is the harder work. So I think I want to draw for us to just relate to in our last 3 minutes together, just for this day, something coming from Brother Cesar Chavez that I think is very fitting for our conversation about how do we build movements. He said, we cannot seek achievement for ourselves and forget about progress and prosperity for our community. Our ambitions must be broad enough to include the aspirations and needs of others for their sakes and for our own. That's Brother Cesar Chavez.
Wisdom. That's our Chicano brother telling the truth. But I think our moment is also one in which we got to make hope as real as a heart attack. We got to fundamentally believe that love and justice, temporarily defeated, is more powerful than grief and fear triumphant at the moment.
Yeah, I love how you said temporarily defeated. One of the best examples I could give leans on the power of our ancestors, those who actually lived through the brutality of chattel slavery, and the ones who fought for a future that they themselves did not get a chance to see.
And I think that's what they believed. They believed that the gangsters who were enslaving them, who thought they were in the driver's seat, were actually weaker in the end because they had love and justice on the enslaved people's side. And they had access to a spirit that could recognize that this too shall.
That's it. Even if you don't get to see it, do you know what kind of fortitude it takes, especially in the midst of chattel slavery? We ain't talking about no temporary, no tariffs and no, in the midst of chattel slavery, to pull yourself up and say, I might not see freedom, I might not taste freedom, but I'm gonna do it anyhow. That's the wings we own. Those are the backs we are standing on. And if they could believe in such degradation and hatred generationally, that one day freedom was coming to pass, then what do we say to all of that glorious courage and love and hope and compassion? Woo, baby, you've been listening to Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner. The doc and I want you to live on purpose, understand your purpose, and know this: titles are good, but purpose is better. Until next time.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
acumen to succeed. Parkside EDC provides families and businesses with financial insights, offering free online, on-site, and on-air B-Warp presentations. The Black Wealth Attainment and Retention Programs helps our community acquire, sustain, and pass down legacy wealth. High school seniors can apply for this year's scholarship awards at parksideedc.org. Scholarships will be awarded at Parkside EDC's Gospel/Jazz Brunch on Sunday, April the 27th. For details, tickets, or donations, please visit parksideedc.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.